Okay, so first question. How long have you been a sports writer?
I started as far as the job. I started in 2014. So before that, when I moved to actually Florida, I was actually in Jacksonville for a while. I started a separate Twitter feed just dedicated to sports because I didn't think that the people they were like the teams I liked, and I wanted an outlet. So I made the separate page and I started blogging and podcasting and all that good stuff. And was able to build a nice little following of fans. And so when I moved back to Indiana, that's when I got the offer to cover the Pacers and IU basketball in 2014.
That's awesome. Uh, so so I think you might have just said it, but what was how did you get your foot in the door? How did you who maybe a mentor, like maybe someone that brought you into the business, or how did you get your foot in the door?
So there was a guy, his name is Cliff Brunt, who created this website called indiesportslegends.com, and he had seen some of my stuff. Um, and he got a job to cover the Oklahoma City Thunder NBA team through the Associated Press. And when he saw that I was moving back home, he saw that it was the teams that I like and everything, and basically said, "Hey, I don't want my site to die that I just made not too long ago." And so it was, one of those things where you saw him on Twitter. That's how I.
Okay, you're kind of breaking up. I'm not sure if that's um, me or
No, not sure.
hello.
I can. We can repeat that if we wanted to.
Yeah, could you just tell me how you got your foot in the door?
Yeah. So the guy that was running the website called indiesportslegends.com, he got a job to cover the Oklahoma City Thunder for the Associated Press, and he had already seen some of my stuff as far as sports coverage. And when he saw that I was moving back home, he called me up and said, "Hey, I don't want my site to die that I've worked so hard to build. So would you want to take it over?" So it was, got kind of lucky in that regard of being in the right place at the right time, and using Twitter to be discovered, I guess you could say.
That's awesome. So I guess so. What would you say it's like? Like, how is it? Because I don't. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe I just assume, but I feel like there's not a whole lot of Christian sports writers. Do you feel like there a lot, or are you kind of like in a minority?
I think there's probably a decent number, maybe not a ton of outspoken ones, just based on the field. They may, keep it more private. I do see, especially on some Twitter profiles, I see some people sharing their faith and going that route. But I think it's probably similar to other professions that are outside of a church or missionary job, where you'll have a handful here and there, but I wouldn't say it's the majority by any means.
So you're saying there's not the Christian Zen sports writing that's not a majority.
Probably not.
Okay. Yeah, I figured, but so so as a Christian, how I mean, so how are you able to glorify God with this platform? Because there aren't. I mean, I think I looked it up at one time, and I think the statistics of people that are sports writers wasn't there weren't a lot. Like it's very small amount of people, that are sports writers. So it's kind of like I only know two, you and another guy, and so it's like it just so what's it like to be in that kind of a smaller niche and also using that platform to bring God glory?
I like the challenge of it, the opportunity of it. I also have a church job, so I wanted to make sure that there's other things in my life that I'm not just around Christians all the time. And It's one of those things where I just look for some opportunities. I'm not going to use my, mention, figure out the best ways you can do that and share opportunities. One example that comes to mind is a couple years ago, I was very passionate about this homeless mission that's in downtown Indianapolis.
Hmm.
And so what I wanted to do is use the sports platform that I have for good. And so I came up with this idea to say, for every retweet that this gets, I'm going to donate 50 cents to Wheeler Mission in Indianapolis.
Mm.
And then I tagged Wheeler Mission. And so when people click on Wheeler Mission, they see that, hey, we're following Jesus and, trying to help people in our city. And I
Mm.
was just like, God, whatever you want to use for this, if it's thousands and thousands of retweets, then, I'm going to send whatever money that you want. And actually one of the Pacers, Miles Turner, retweeted it. So that raised a lot of
Mm.
awareness for it. So that's just
Hmm.
one example off the top of my head of, using the platform that God has given me in that way, where I have, several followers that can see what I'm about, and that it's not just a sports fun kind of thing, but also a way to reach people.
Yeah, that's funny you mentioned homeless because I'm also definitely pretty passionate, I would say, about helping homeless people. Like if I'm driving, I see a homeless person, if the light's not green, like I try to give them some food or, like one guy I kind of helped for a while. I gave him like couple cheeseburgers sometimes, from McDonald's or something from Arby's. But yeah, could you maybe go more into detail about like the homeless ministry and like what did you, like you said you were passionate about it. So like what did you try to start like a ministry or did you do anything like that or
Really, instead of starting one, I just found one that is awesome that some of my youth groups have helped out with before. But what they do, I think there might be multiple Wheeler missions, or maybe just the one in Indianapolis is called that. But I mean, there's thousands of people, just in that city that are homeless, and for a variety of different reasons, but they do so much for them, not just feeding them, but they have so many beds where they can stay. They have programs, they share Christ with them. And so
mm,
for me, I really try to find, if for any charity, I mean, there's so many good ones out there, but I really try to find one that is not only helping, but will share the gospel, share God's love with them, and really know where your money's going for those that you're helping out. And so when I saw that one, and I know a lot of the followers of mine on Twitter are, live in Indianapolis or close to it, within maybe an hour at the most, to be able to raise awareness for not just the money that we raised, but like thousands of people were then clicking on the Wheeler Mission Twitter to see what they're about. So that was pretty cool.
yeah, that sounds awesome. um so this is kind of a personal question because, well, for me anyways. So just curious, have you always wanted to be a sports writer, or is that did that come later in life? Did you just know from the beginning you were like, oh, that's my dream, it's what I want to do? It's like for me, took me a little bit. Like I was like a sophomore in like college, and I was like, my friend was like, yo, we should be sports writers. I'm like, okay. So it was just kind of like, and the guy, yeah, he wasn't the best friend. I should probably shouldn't have been hanging out with him, but he kind of got me into the whole wanting to write about sports. And it went from covering games to like writing stories. And I personally find I like writing stories better. But like, has it always been your dream to be a sports writer? And like, do you like covering games or do you like writing stories more?
I always knew that I wanted to be involved in sports in some way.
Mm-hmm.
For a good while there, it was more broadcasting. I'd play a video game and pretend like I was the broadcaster. As a Cubs fan, I'd say I want to be the next Harry Carey growing up, and pretended to be him and everything. So the writing stuff was something that came a little later. I just knew it would be sports, some kind. I got a communications degree in college, and I knew just really anything sports related. So what's cool about the sports writing gig is you're able to do multiple things. You're, not necessarily broadcasting games, but you're able to interview, you're able to podcast, you're able to, be creative with video and in addition to writing. And,
Hmm.
for your other question, I prefer, as far as the writing goes, I like to do like more columns, like opinions style articles, and more people read those anyway. But at the same time, I really like to be at the games. So the best of both worlds is when you go to a game, but then that night you have a column idea instead of just a game recap. So maybe there's something developing in that game that you're like, okay, I can write a story about this player specifically instead of just the game. Then it's the best of both because you're at the game, you're tweeting about the game, and then you get to write a fun story about it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I also got a degree in communications, and actually the other guy who was a sports writer got a degree in communications. So I guess maybe that's just either journalism or communications is like the two degrees apparently. But yeah, I also like the fact that I got to write a story on that. His name was Devin Singletary, and I got to kind of he like I didn't yeah, like we had press conferences, but we didn't really interview him like one on one. But it was cool to write about him because almost every night he was breaking records. So it was like, oh, he went for 3 touchdowns. He broke this record. He went for this many yards, and it was just really exciting. So
yeah,
but so so I so what kind of advice could you give me or other people who might want to be sports writers or famous bloggers or write books or like doing because you've done a lot of it, like you've done a lot of you've done a lot of stuff with the Pacers, you've written a book, you've done stuff a lot. It's kind of you're living a dream that not many people get to live. So like what would you say to those people that are like trying to like go down that path of writing and blogging and everything else?
I think a big thing is, follow your passion, even if you don't get a very, great start with it in your mind. Continue to do what you love to do, because at the end of the day, it's about being fulfilled and feeling like, if you feel called to do something, you need to do it, whether there's, 3 people watching or 10,000, it really doesn't matter. It's just about being faithful with what God's called. And I think in terms of, if you have dreams of, a job in that field, then the more practice, the better, and really try to hustle. It may sound kind of weird, but try to hustle in terms of know what your target audience is, get on social media and try to find those people that may have similar interests, send them messages, try to get in groups, and just, you never know when your break could come. It could be from one person, like it was for me as far as the sports gig. One person sees your stuff, likes it, has a job for you, and boom, there you go.
Yeah, I agree. So do you have a favorite verse, and does it apply to your sports writing? It doesn't have to, but just curious if you have a verse that kind of relates to your job as a sports writer. But if it's just like a personal verse that you kind of just like, you can share that as well.
Yeah, my favorite verse is probably Colossians 3:23, and to me, one reason I love it is because I think it applies to everything, and I actually go into detail in one of my chapters in my book on this verse. But Colossians 3:23, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for men. So whether it's my ministry job, my book, my sports writing, my coaching, that word, whatever, it covers everything. Whatever I'm doing, I'm supposed to do it with all my heart, and I'm working for the Lord, not for men. So that's kind of a life verse for me.
Cool. And this might sound like a weird question because it's not. I feel like you probably wouldn't have chosen any other career, but like if you could pick anything else as a career, what would you choose and why?
Probably would be a Christian rock star.
Yeah. So you're a musical. You do music.
I mean, a little bit, but more for fun.
Oh,
But I love music. I love Christian music. I've never really learned instruments, but I sing a little bit. But to be able to tour and share the message that way and be creative in that way would have been a blast as well.
cool. Um. So I guess that's all the questions I have for now. Is there anything you'd like to share in a closing thoughts or anything like that?
Always happy to share about, because I believe the book that I wrote is really a ministry as well. It's not just trying to, promote or sell books. It's more about the message behind it. So, did write a book called Searching for Seven. Just came out in June. Searchingfor7.com is the website where you can find links and all that good stuff. But really, just this message. I'm kind of in a way virtually touring the message of it, where I think that we need to be searching for God in everything, all 7 days a week. And so it's a quick read, a lot of stories, several sports stories in there, and combining sports and faith. But just an honor to share it, and whoever has a chance to read it, I'm honored that they get to kind of share in the journey with me.
I mean, I would be, it would be great to maybe buy a couple from you, possibly. I could maybe buy. I don't know how much they are.
I think online they are $13.99, which is actually the cheapest they were able to go. But
Okay.
so yeah, it's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble right now. Amazon's a little weird with the COVID stuff. They're a little bit backed up, and sometimes they put a higher price on the initial link, but then if you click under where it says buy new or used, then it's the original price. So it's kind of weird. But $13.99 on Barnes and Noble, and there's actually an ebook version which is cheaper too, which is $5.99.
Really? Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. So I guess that's all for today. Thanks for listening, everybody, and have a great day. God bless.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.